Great. Hi, everyone. We are here today with Melanie Smith, who is our product director at Brain Health Products, and she's a naturopathic nutritionist. So she is the one who really did so much work to help create like the highest quality nootropic for brain health that we have, which is Earth to Brain Vital Mind, our flagship product, as well as Nourish Mind, which just came out. Today, we're going to really just talk about the brain, stress, how it works, why nootropics are helpful, and really, Mel is joining us to really just blow the lid on how herbs can help boost brain power. So thank you, Mel, for joining me today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. Hey, Michelle.
I thought I'd just begin by just letting everyone know the focus for today. So in this webinar presentation, what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to maximize your potential for focus, productivity, concentration, and memory, especially as you age, without having to get a prescription drug, without having to become an expert in diet or nutrition, and without having to radically overhaul your lifestyle. So at Brain Health Products, we're really about smashing through those preconceived notions of what our brains are capable of doing in every area of our lives. And I'm really excited to help you to understand all about how the brain works and how herbs work to upgrade your potential and maximize your abilities in all areas of your life. So before we get Mel into the conversation and get her talking about her area of focus, I want to share with you some of the secrets that you'll be learning about today. So there's some secrets that not many people know about herbs for brain health, like there are three of them. First of all, what pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know about herbs. And next, why, when it comes to herbs, quantity is important and the unique combination are the most important considerations. And also about how supporting your brain's function is a lot simpler than you might have been led to believe in the past. So first of all, I just want to mention what it means to upgrade your potential. What do we mean when we say that? So I am talking about like all the ways in which your brain affects your life in your everyday activity, and probably much more than you think. So upgrading your potential really is about, being super productive at work, for example, maybe even more productive than your colleagues. It's about having a mindset that's so positive and a focus that's so on point that you smash through your goals really easily. When it comes to fitness and competition, really maximizing your potential means that you have that mental edge and you have the endurance to keep focusing on the win. And you can imagine a situation in your life where people are thinking like, what is going on with you? What's going on with this person? What is this transformation all about? Maximizing your potential is about becoming the person that people want to hang out with, that people want to be like. And also it's about you feeling like really more connected to all of the people in your life. But right now, a lot of us are experiencing a huge amount of stress, not just from normal life, but also from the situation with COVID and working from home and all of that. And it's really possible that you're more experiencing, rather than your potential, you're experiencing brain fog, stress. Maybe you're falling behind in work. You feel like you're falling behind in life. You have trouble concentrating. You don't have the mental endurance that you're used to having. You might have a really negative mindset, even memory problems. So I'd like Mel to hop in here and really briefly explain, like, what does it mean, this whole notion of stress in the brain? Like, what is actually happening here in the brain?
So when we look at the brain, which the brain and the spinal cord make up our nervous system. And so, we have some structures in the brain and supportive structures that help with the blood flow and the cerebrospinal fluid flow. But what we really want to look at with stress is the neurons. So the neurons are the cell specific to the brain and the nervous system. And how well these neurons function is how well we can use our brain, how our cognitive processes work, how stress works, how we can function in our everyday life. And so these neurons, we have 100 billion of them. We have some supportive cells too, which are the glial cells, and really nourishing those and the supportive network of the brain as a whole is really what we're going to be looking at doing so that the whole system can work more effectively.
So I often say that the brain is like a superhighway, like it's there's so many different parts and so many different ways that we connect. And when we just sit down to to do our work at the computer, for example, you're relying on different parts of the brain to connect. So tell us a little bit about that. What does that mean in terms of maybe help us understand a little bit the structures.
Okay, so the neurons are like our electrochemical signals, and they connect to each other neuron to neuron through synaptic connections. So we want those to be firing and connecting in the big network that is our brain. And so we can energize those, support those, so that they're firing at their full potential. Because when we're kind of struggling with recall and memory and focus, and there's some brain fog, it just means that those aren't firing very well. Mm-hmm. And we can do things to support those so that they can work more effectively. And we're born with most of the neurons that we need in life, and most of them will last our entire lifespan, but some of them will die. And actually we can grow new ones now through just recent discoveries that they've made only in the last sort of 50 years. They know now that we can actually grow new brain cells, which is really exciting.
And we can grow them for the whole of our lives, isn't that right?
Yes, so we can grow them up to we're 100 years old, science is showing us now. Yeah. So they once thought we were just born with all the neurons that we need, and sort of too bad if some of them die, or do the best you can with what you've got. But now we know that we can grow new ones. So it's not that they die and regenerate, come back to life. It's just new ones are made, new synaptic connections can be made. And so training your brain can help you develop those.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, some of the things that can help, because, really we're all about, what we really believe is that the simplest way to support your brain is through, herbal supplements, because they work really directly and they can make a difference really quickly. But before we get into that, I'm kind of interested in your insight into how stress and overwhelm, how it all the many ways in which it can affect us, what's actually happening there.
So both short and long-term stress affects the brain, and it is flooding the brain with stress hormones. It's disrupting our neurotransmitters, which are our chemical messengers. So you may have heard of dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, those sorts of things. The production and transport of those gets disrupted. So that's what when we think of brain fog and even depression, anxiety states, overwhelm, it's all a dysregulation of those neurotransmitters for the most part. And so what we want to do is actually really get up in there and see what we can do to help modulate those. So something like a supplement is a fast track way to kind of get in there straight away and help with that.
Because it's actually, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so with stress, we know that long-term stress left unchecked actually shrinks the brain structures, specifically the parts that are involved in memory and emotions and our metabolism. And even short-term stress will switch off our prefrontal cortex to a certain degree, not switch off, but inhibit our prefrontal cortex, which is the part at the front responsible for our essential cognitive functions of our focus, concentration, thinking, learning, being able to just be in the present moment and have a look at what we're doing. That feeling we get, we're like, I can't just do this right now. That's because that stress is, it's inhibiting that function. Yes. And so this prefrontal cortex talks to other parts of the brain, and so there can be some dysregulation going on throughout the whole brain from short-term stress.
Does this also happen? Is aging part of that? Does this also happen as a part of an aging process, that brain fog and memory problems creep in? Is it the same structures that are involved in that with aging, or is it more about neurons?
It's all of that, and as we age, everything will start to decline a little bit. It's just the way it is. But we can sort of slow that decline, halt it a little bit, so that, it's not a fast decline, and we're doing the best we can with what we have to kind of go, okay, well, there is an aging brain here and it won't always maintain this level. But, well, having said that, now that we know about neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, which is creating the new networks in the brain, some people as they age, if they actually really start looking after, making an effort to look after their brain, they can have a healthier, more functional brain than someone younger than them. So we can, you know, dive in there and really support brain health at any stage to slow that decline.
Yeah. And it's you know, it's so needed at the moment right now, especially I think, because what I'm seeing, you know, in my work, just as a practitioner and working with people who have, you know, who are emotionally suffering, you know, the stress levels are just through the roof, you know, just because of everything that's going on and all of the isolation and fear and everything I mentioned before. I'm seeing that people need, you know, a little bit of extra support to bring their brain back online and have that focus and be able to just really function, you know, to be clear-headed. It makes such a difference, doesn't it? Like when you feel clear-headed, you feel like you can tackle the things that are going on in your life that much more easily. And one of our, you know, our one of our missions and one of the things that we, you know, at Brain Health Products, that, you know, and we all come from different areas. I mean, Mel's a, you know, naturopathic nutritionist. I'm a mindfulness coach, and I work with trauma healing. One of the things we really understand is that the brain can change. I do that through, you know, mindfulness, but supporting the brain with natural supplements, with natural supplementation and herbs is such a part of the puzzle that many people don't understand, because we live in this really pharmacological culture. And it all starts with this concept of the brain can change. It's not a static thing. So tell us a bit about that. Like, we used to think that we couldn't change the brain. What's really changed? Is it all of the research on neuroplasticity, the Norman Deutsch book on the brain that changes itself? Is that what's really...
Yeah, well, that was an extension of what they started to learn in the 1960s about, oh my gosh, you can grow new neurons, which is called neurogenesis.
Okay.
And then neuroplasticity, they looked at that and, oh, they can form new networks and rewire new networks, which is that neuroplasticity that then that launched a breakthrough in itself, and more study has been done since then to develop on those ideas and work out exactly what our potential is. And then the study that I read recently about, we can grow neurons up to we're 100. So that's a very far from the original thought of you're born with all the ones that you're going to have, to you can grow new ones up to 100 years old, which is 100 years later. And so I think it's really exciting to, you know, powerful breakthrough there. And you mentioned the Dr. Deutsch, who wrote The Brain That Changes Itself. And he, you know, the things that he said about the beautiful thing is that anyone can do this at any time, and you just have to find the way to rewire that circuitry.
Yeah.
And I think that's really empowering.
It is really empowering. I mean, I see it a lot. I also work with neurolinguistic programming, and that's really, really powerful for changing that. But I also see that sometimes you need that. The psychological self relies a lot on the physiological self. So in other words, you know, having a, you know, your emotional life, your mindset does have a reliance on the brain structures and the neurons and, you know, the chemicals and hormones we're producing. And so that piece of it, you know, that natural supplementation is a really important part. And I don't think we all fully understand how, you know, we have nature's bounty right there. It's like, can look out my back window and, you know, there it is. There's grass, there's a garden, there's nature is there, and it just offers this amazing available medicine, you know, really, really natural healing, really powerful. And how exciting is that? I mean, how long have we known that herbs can actually be really powerful, acting on that brain circuitry and neurons?
Well, before they really did scientific research hundreds of years ago, there's a lot of ancient knowledge of what herbs are used for what. And there are herbs that are known for to help the brain, herbs that are known for cardiovascular, and just certain things that they just, I don't know how they kind of came about knowing that, but it was part of traditional knowledge. And now that we're in more of this scientific era, and 90% of what we know about the brain has come about in the last 10 to 20 years, and the explosion of research in herbal medicine, and the accessibility to be able to read studies now due to globalization and the internet is fascinating. Anyone can go online, and there's tens of thousands of research papers there that will show what nature can do to help the brain. Nature harms, nature heals is something that I think of a lot of the time, when if we can just find the way to reset our factory settings, then we're onto something.
Yeah.
And so science is catching up with that traditional knowledge and extending upon that with new development.
Because herbs are actually they're potent. I mean, they have, I always go back to this word bioactive substances. Like what does that mean exactly? Like, I think I know what it means, but yeah.
I love that word. So bio being life and active being active. So it will do something. It will go in and do something. It's not inert. I suppose it's the opposite of inert. It's going to actually go in and achieve something in the body.
Yeah. And so I just like to say, like if you're out there listening to this and you haven't heard of, the power of herbal substances for, boosting your health naturally, then, you're not alone, and it's not your fault if you've tried other things for brain fog or to improve your focus and they haven't worked, because it's still, it's still fairly new information. We're still really, part of this real kind of revolution in natural health. We're all part of it. We're living it, and it's not your fault, but it is extremely powerful. And that's really why we've come together to create this product. So maybe, like going back to, one of the secrets, this is the thing, like, as you say, there's so much science now that's available. So let's go back to like the pharmaceutical model, and this, the secret number one that I mentioned before was kind of like what the pharmaceuticals don't want you to know. Tell us a bit about that. Tell us a bit about this. What is the big reveal with that?
Well, look, pharmaceutical companies will know that there are herbs that have benefits. It's just difficult to identify and single out compounds. So what they like to do is identify and single out a compound that has a dose-dependent effect on a part of the body or a body system. And so with herbs being a multitude of compounds, and sometimes we don't want to extract just one, it's the synergy and sum of all that has a benefit. It's harder for them for that to fit their model of what they like to do. And so therefore, and also because they can't patent it being natural,
they want
to patent it. They want, so it's not practical or viable, and therefore they're not as interested in it. And it's also hard to change medical policy as well. So even though when new breakthroughs, even pharmaceutical breakthroughs come through, it takes quite a while to implement them into the norm and the standard of treatment that may be used for something. And that's a common question that we get, that, if these herbs are so good for the brain, why doesn't my doctor tell me, and things like that. Yeah. And that's why it's not that they don't help, it's just a different paradigm. It's just they're looking more at symptom relief, disease management. They're not so much looking at optimization and prevention. That that's why. That's
a really good point, optimization and prevention, because they're different paradigms, aren't they? And we certainly wouldn't recommend, again, you should definitely see your doctor if you have any concerns, but just it's important to be aware that we're operating different paradigms in different areas of expertise. And I think that's really powerful, that pharmaceuticals do know that herbs are extremely potent and can help in a variety of areas, but they can't be patented. So you have to find it outside of that model. And also that really speaks to this idea that, as you said, like with any herb, there are like lots of constituents, not just one. And so from a pharmaceutical would want to extract one and patent it, but that's not how herbs work. But that's precisely what makes them so powerful, right? Is that they have different ingredients that work together. And not only that, but there's been enough research to show that single herbs are powerful in themselves, but then when you combine them, they combine, and when they're synergistic, they're even more powerful. I mean, so that's really what we've done with Earth to Brain Vital Mind, for example, is we have 4 ingredients and they're really synergistic. And that's the next secret that I really want you to speak about, which is this notion of like, why wouldn't a person, I mean, I get this all the time, like, oh, I can, Brahmi or Bacopa Monnieris in my backyard, I can pick it and make a tea and that's enough. You can buy single ingredients, but why is that not as powerful as having that combination?
So there's a lot of different compounds in herbs, and each herb and each herb family will have different compounds that they're known for that will give benefits. And so we can kind of harness the knowledge of lots of different herbs and their benefits and what pathways they work on, and combine them synergistically to create really powerful blends. And trained herbalists will know what you can and can't combine. Sometimes you don't want things that are too similar and have that additive effect. And sometimes things are opposing in their function, so you wouldn't combine those.
Yeah.
And really, it's finding the sweet spot as well. So with the constituents that are known to exert different functions, knowing how much of each one as a therapeutic range, what we call is what the sweet spot is, knowing how much of each one and how much of each bioactive compound is in there is really important for dosing. So they will average that out for the average person to know how much of a herb should you take to get a benefit, and what does that herb combine well with, so that you can target different areas of brain health, because some will stimulate the brain-derived nootropic factor, some will stimulate the circulation to the brain to get that blood flow and the cerebrospinal fluid going, some will support the density, the structural integrity of the neurons as well. And so there's a lot of different things we want to target, so you're not just going, okay, brain-derived nootropic factor is what we're looking at, because that might not be enough. It might not be what that person needs. So by targeting quite a few areas and supporting brain health on the whole, you're very likely to get a benefit. And because whatever part you kind of need the most will be worked upon.
And so why, because I know, like, it's so difficult when you're interested in a nootropic and you're kind of sifting through what's out there. Why have we chosen 4? Why not 10? Why not 20? I mean, there's a whole range, right? When you're looking, why 4?
Oh my gosh, it was quite a process to get that first product that ticked so many boxes of synergy between ingredients, making sure they're in therapeutic range for each of the ingredients. Not diluting them by having too many in there, because if you put 8, 10, 12 in there, you might not be able to have enough of each, or you'd have to take maybe 10 capsules to get enough of each one to have a function. Each herb, even though it'll have effect on the brain, it will have effect on other parts of the body, so you have to take that into account. You don't want to affect the microbiome too much, because some will be quite antimicrobial, so you don't want to wipe out.
So that's about gut health.
Your gut health. So the herbs will do all of the functions, not just the brain. And you have to really, it's a real balancing act. And it was a really fun, interesting process. And we worked with the Natural Product Centre in development as well to make sure that we were hitting that sweet spot. We sourced really high quality premium ingredients, because as a practitioner, I'm used to using practitioner only really high quality.
Really high quality,
absolutely. It has to be high quality, because there's a massive variation in quality of herbs out there. That's something else people don't know, is that they think, oh, I can get some Brahmi for $10, but is it, where did it come from? So many variables will affect how good that product is. And it is a little bit, you get what you pay for as well. In there too, because obviously cost of production of better quality ingredients is going to cost a little bit more.
And that's been really our ethos, I think, as a company as well, isn't it? That quality and effectiveness of the supplement comes before anything else. Like, as long as it takes, no matter what it takes, we are creating really high quality, that we have the best, as you say, premium sourced, high quality, vegan friendly ingredients, because we want we want it to really be noticeable and to have a noticeable effect on the brain. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. I know a lot of people have said, why 4 ingredients? Why not 10? Why can't I just take this? And said, that's really great to hear you explain that so well. Yeah.
If someone's growing some herbs in their garden, Brahmi, for example, and they
Yeah.
chew a little bit each day, it's quite bitter. It's
Yeah.
not my favorite thing to have. Or make a tea out of it. That's absolutely fantastic too. Just if you really want that good bang for your buck, get up in the brain with
Yeah.
enough of the compounds, and they have an additive effect too. So Brahmi might not do much for you for the first dose, but once you've had that second, third, fourth, and you're building upon that, you're stimulating that brain-derived nootropic factor, you're going to get that additive effect over time, which is just a little bit more difficult, well, a lot more difficult to get if you're just having it as a, growing and eating a little bit for yourself.
Yeah. So it's really about what kind of what you want to achieve with your supplementation, with your intake of herbs. Do you want that, as you say, bang for your buck, that real zing? But how can it be so easy? I mean, this is the thing I keep getting back to. Like, we like to complicate things, in order to improve brain health. There are a lot of things you can do. You can stay more hydrated, you can get better sleep, but tell me about this next secret, that you can really tangibly change your life just by taking a supplement. I think we don't often, a lot of people don't understand, how amazing and life-changing just taking a supplement can be.
Absolutely. And we've made it easy for them by developing a brand where our first product is acceptable to most people to be able to take, to actually just straight away start lifting that brain fog. Because sometimes we're in brain fog, brain's not working quite well, we're in a bit of a funk, and we're just thinking, yeah, I know I need to do this, yeah, I know I need to do, yeah, I know I need to make some lifestyle changes. And I kind of liken it to, we've got so many tabs open and the Wi-Fi drops out, and then it becomes so difficult to kind of do anything. So the easiest place to start really is to just take a supplement, a high quality supplement that's been specifically designed to lift that cloud and get that mental energy happening. And then once you can do that, then things start to become a lot easier, and you think, oh, I'm actually feeling a bit better. I'm getting a bit more done in my day. And it gives you that momentum of, what else can I do? I actually feel like doing a bit of exercise. I actually feel like doing this and that. And it kind of sets you on that positive cycle of actually just starting to become really invested in, or getting excited about this new feeling you have, and where you can take it. So just taking a supplement like, our beautiful Vital Mind is just 2 capsules in the morning with breakfast. And some people will notice a difference from the very first dose, but some people will take a couple of days, within maybe 4 days, start to really feel the benefits of that. And, it's not just the brain, it's doing the whole body on some level as well. It's actually reducing the inflammation, increasing your circulation. So everything kind of gets a kickstart and a jolt.
Whole body support as well, and cardiovascular support as well as that brain support. We actually have a page on the site that's all about the science of E2B, where we go through the ingredients and cite all the studies behind them. So I'll drop a link here somewhere so people can access that. We don't need to bore them with all of the science or go over each ingredient bit by bit, but that's a really powerful thing to understand, that it's just, it's a simple step that can make such a big change fairly quickly, and then give you that boost to go on and make other changes in your life, or have other, have the motivation and the mindset to really make other things happen,
And depending on whether the brain fog is more to do with circulation, or it's more to do with neuronal strength, or it's more to do with the stress factor or poor sleep, and whatever's sort of contributing to that brain fog can be lifted through, we've got those 4 ingredients in our Vital Mind. So we're targeting lots of different areas. So we're energizing the mind to clear the brain fog. We're supporting cognitive functions like thinking, learning, concentration, focus, memory, recall. We're helping you access greater creativity and productivity. you're balancing your moods, becoming more resilient to stresses, you're feeling more in control of your day. And ultimately, you're just nourishing and supporting all of the structures of the brain that are responsible for all of these things too. So you're getting a wide range of brain benefits.
The super highways now, the traffic is flowing and
Superhighways.
zipping around.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the superhighways are those neurons and that connectivity and everything kind of just working as it should.
Working, yeah, as it should. What's been the most surprising thing for you, working with nootropics and all of the research and input and everything you've learned from this journey of creating helping create the product, but also taking it and benefiting? Like, what has there been anything surprising for you in this journey?
Just why aren't more of us doing this? Why
Yeah,
aren't we onto this a lot more and a lot sooner? And
yeah,
how do we get this more mainstream? Because, you know, we're always talking about the brain has all this potential that we can't tap into. And we, no,
mm,
no, 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 no. And then there's stress and, oh, but I'm this and I'm that. And, oh, we can just zhuzh the brain.
yeah.
We can do it.
We can do it.
Yeah, we
So
can.
yeah, and you, those of you listening, you probably get that something like we're part of our ethos. We're really passionate about. One of our missions is really to really take a stand and say you can improve your
You
life
can.
dramatically by taking really good, high quality natural supplements, and you can boost
Yes.
that brain power. Like we really
Yes.
want people to
And
understand that.
with a lot of natural medicine, there is a lot of self-knowledge is key. So seek this information out and empower yourself, educate yourself, and that's how you're going to be able to optimize your health.
Yeah,
And the information is out there.
yeah,
And as I went through a lot of research in the product development and also putting research up on the website for people
yeah.
who do enjoy that science, I would just get so excited. I read, I think, oh my gosh, something like Brahmi actually targets most of the areas that we're looking at. And I think, wow. And I get really excited when I read scientific research. And I understand that some people are kind of a bit like, yeah, just kind of tell me what it does and how do I do it? You know, make it easy for me. So,
Yeah.
but I just get really excited about the potential and where it can go and developing this brand. And as we have new products come out so that we can cycle products as well, have a
Yeah.
break from this one and then take this one, or,
Yeah.
you know, oh, I really noticed that one, or combine that one with that one. And people will find their sweet spot within our
Yeah.
brand and the
Yeah.
products that work the most. And it's, it's so exciting that there are so many ingredients we can use as well,
Yeah.
which
And
will be
and
developed
just
on the way.
how much that can shift an individual from, as we've said, that state of brain fog to hyper focus ability, feeling, your memory being working, feeling clear headed, feeling the mindset shift, being present in your life, connecting to people better, feeling like you can accomplish more. And it can sneak up on you, this feeling where suddenly you're like, wow, I've worked straight through the day, I've got so much done, and I still feel like I have energy. Those changes are they're really big and significant changes that are totally achievable.
Yes,
So
really achievable.
thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us about this. I would love to offer those of you who are watching this presentation and are interested in trying the product, you can actually go to our shop now and you can get 20% off your first order using the code webinar20. I'll pop that in an email to you. I'd love for you to try it. Give us your feedback. And if you have any questions for Mel, please do just hit reply in the email, and we're going to collect the questions, and then we'll do a part 2 to this webinar in the future once we have some questions to really get stuck into and to answer. So thank you so much, Mel, for your time.
Thanks, Michelle.
And thank you everyone for watching. We'll be in touch soon. Have a great day, everyone.